Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'll be reviewing the waterproof case for the DJI Osmo Pocket. Now, I know this product came out a while ago, and you might be thinking to yourself, Rick, what took you so long to get to the review? Well, the honest truth is, I don't like to rush into these reviews. I like to buy a product, take it out in the field, and beat it up for a couple of weeks to make sure that it's durable and that it does what the manufacturer says it can do. The other thing I do is really think about the consumer that bought the original product and figure out if that accessory is something they'll actually use with that. Because a lot of times, a ton of accessories will come out for a camera like this, and you'll look at them and think, oh man, that looks really good, and you'll order it and spend your hard-earned money on it. It'll arrive, maybe you'll use it once or twice, and it ends up on a shelf, and then you're wasting your money. So with this accessory, it absolutely made sense for me because I'm around lakes and bays and oceans a lot. I film underwater, so for me, this was a perfect accessory for the Osmo Pocket. But I'll be honest, I was on the fence about the rest of the consumer base because most people that buy that camera are not going to be scuba diving down to 60 meters. They're not going to be fishing and putting it underwater, looking at the fish and stuff. So it kind of was a niche market until the other day. And what changed everything for me was I happened to be out filming in the woods. I was taking a nice hike, and I thought I had my Osmo Action with me, and I thought I had a GoPro with me, and I had neither of them, but I had my Osmo Pocket. And it started raining, and I really wanted to film where I was at, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm done. I don't have either of my action cameras with me, but I got my Osmo Pocket. It's not waterproof. I can't be waving that thing around in a rainstorm. But wait a minute, I have the waterproof case with me, so I slid it inside there and was able to film. Now, what that means to me, essentially, is that this case, even if you're never going to dive with the thing, this case turns your Osmo Pocket into an action camera. Now, think about that for a second. Winter's coming. You're going to be outside in the snow. Maybe you're skiing. Maybe you're out with family and friends having a snowball fight. You can take this outside in this waterproof case and not have to worry about getting wet. It's also great if you're taking it to the beach. So in a sandy environment or a dirty environment, the Osmo Pocket does not like debris, right? It's a very sensitive unit. So once you slide it inside this waterproof case, you can film just like you would with an action camera and have all the benefits of the Osmo Pocket. So the reason I decided to do the clip is I'm thinking, everybody out there is going to want to have an action camera version of this, and this basically turns it into it. So what I'm going to do in the clip today is talk briefly about the product, then I'll do a closer look at it to show you everything that comes with the kit and explain it, but I want to show you how to use it because you're going to have to do a couple of things to the Osmo Pocket before you slide it inside the unit, and there's some strips over here that are sort of anti-fog inserts, and I'll explain all those. But for me, I think they've done a great job of building an incredibly durable, waterproof case that you can take anywhere with you and know that your Osmo Pocket's going to be protected. All right, some basic facts behind it. The unit itself will take this down to 60 meters below water. So if you decide you're going to dive and get down to 60 meters, which is 180 feet, that's well beyond what the average diver can do. I'm a diver, and I think 100 feet, 110 feet is as deep as I've been. You get much deeper than that, you're looking at nitrogen narcosis. So, but 60 meters is pretty far down. So that means anywhere you dive, you're going to be fine with that. Take it in the pool, take it on vacation, go snorkeling with it, and everything's fine. It also comes with a glass front. Now, there are a lot of adapters out there like this, waterproof cases, that are all plastic. And I always worry about those because if you're carrying them in a bag, the plastic is going to change a little bit. Maybe the seals aren't going to be that good. Having a glass front on this thing means that, number one, it's not going to scratch, which is really important because your lens is looking through that. So you don't want to have that. If there's scratches there, you're going to pick those up. But more importantly, if you're using a plastic lens on the front, like again, a lot of them are doing, over time, that's going to yellow. Even if it doesn't scratch, it's going to change color, and that's going to tint everything you're trying to film through it. So I love the fact that they've got a glass front on it. They also give you, I've got it mounted on one of our clamp kits here from Drone Valley just to hold it up, but I also use this a lot. This is wonderful to sort of clamp on a pole and stick it underwater to see what's going on with the fish down there. That's kind of a cool thing to do. But they give you two mounts. There's two GoPro-style mounts, the 3-finger flanges, one on the bottom and one over here. Now, the advantage there is that if you have this on a selfie stick and you're swimming underwater with it, you can actually put a light here to actually light the area in front of you. So there's a lot of underwater lights that are GoPro compatible. You can also use a flange that converts this to a 1/4" 20 turn in case you've got a light that mounts on that. So I love the fact that they gave you two different mounting flanges on there. But again, this clamp works for me because when I'm diving, I can clamp this on my suit or on my weight belt and not have to worry about it. I can dive with it, hands-free. So that's pretty cool. All right, so what comes in the kit? You get the actual waterproof case. You get 3 of these anti-fog strips. Now, they're super important if you're going underwater and they slide down, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. They slide down inside, but they're basically desiccant because you're underwater. You've got some air trapped in there that was at the surface, which has got moisture in it. You get it down the bottom. This guy gets a little bit warm and the water was cold. You're going to get condensation inside, just like you would in a dive mask. So these guys take care of that. You also get a clamp that holds it in, and I'll show you how to use that in a second. And you get a full instruction manual that explains everything you need to do to get this guy working. Now, the one thing you do have to be aware of is that you have to be to a certain level of the microcode for this to work. And it was version v.01.08.00.20. You can be later than that, but you have to at least be on that version of the microcode because they did two things in that microcode version. One was they enabled the setting for this in the software. So I'll show you how to do that in the settings. The second thing they did was change the focusing. So when you go into the mode where you put it inside the waterproof case, it actually does a much better job with phase shifting on the focusing, because you got to remember you've got glass now in front of the lens, and if it's trying to focus, I've got another piece of glass in front of it that has to focus through. So they've done some pretty credible things with the phase detection on the focusing in there. So all that's part of it. So if you hang on, what I'm going to do now is a closer look. I'll show you how to get into the application and actually enable this and slide it inside the case and all the good stuff you're going to want to know how to use this thing, and then I'll come back with some final thoughts. So stay tuned. Now I'll take a closer look at the waterproof case and explain how to use it. The case itself is made out of a high durability plastic, glass lens on the front, which means you're going to get perfect shots through that. You're not going to have any yellowing or scratches to worry about like some of the other cases. It's also built to have a really nice little angle to it, so it's angled forward, which is very natural when you're holding it in your hands. They've built in two flanges, one on the side and one on the bottom, and you can use any standard two-flange GoPro mount to attach this to your belt or a selfie stick or even the clamp that I showed you earlier. On the bottom flange, you'll notice another hole right there, and that's great for adding a lanyard to it to strap it to your wrist. So if you're underwater and you drop it, it won't float too far away from you. Now, they could have made it out of metal, but they made it out of plastic because it's very buoyant, and because it contains some air inside, if you let go of this, it's going to head for the surface, which is really handy because if you're in a boat and you drop it overboard, it's not going to sink to the bottom. So I like that an awful lot. Now I'll show you how to use the unit. To get started, you'll have to actually put your Osmo Pocket into underwater mode, and that's a feature that they've enabled in the latest firmware, version 01, 08, 00, and 20. Now, there are newer versions than that out, but if you want to use this particular feature, you've got to have at least that version on your Osmo Pocket. To get started, you'll turn it on, and as soon as it powers up, you'll go into the settings menu, just by sliding down like that, then slide to the left, all the way to the end, and you'll notice an icon there that looks an awful lot like that underwater case. Right now it's in regular mode, so if I want to put it in underwater mode, I just tap the screen and it's going to tell me to power it off. Now normally at this point you would slide it inside the case and you'd go about recording what you wanted to record. But I want to show you one other thing. Let me turn it back on again. And we'll go back into that same settings menu. And you'll see that the graphic actually changed. You can see now that it looks like it's got the Osmo Pocket actually inside of it. So that's a good way for you to know that you're in or out of that underwater mode. You definitely want to take it out of underwater mode when you're done filming for the day underwater, because it changes some of the way it focuses and a few other things that are going on. So let me turn it off. Now also, you can't have anything in the universal connector port. So if you've got a connector on there or the blank on there, take that off. Okay, now we're set to go. So we'll open up the case. You just unscrew it like this. Set that aside. And you've got an anti-fog pad here that you've got to use inside the unit, because this gets warm, and if you've got cold water outside of it and you've got some moisture inside, you're going to get condensation inside the lens. This will absorb that. You want to make sure that you put it behind the camera. You don't want to have it up here because it'll block the buttons in the screen. So I just drop it in the back like that and kind of center it. And then I'll slide the Osmo Pocket in on top of it all the way down gently. Don't push down from here, push down on the base. And when it's all the way down, you're going to want to lock it in. That's what this collar's for. And that slides in like this. And you hear a click. And you'll know you have it in right because the lip is facing up. And that's there to prevent the Osmo Pocket from shaking loose and working forward so that the lens doesn't bang on the cover here. All right, let me put the cover back on. And once the cover's on, you're all set to go. Make sure it's nice and tight. Then push the button. It's going through its power on self-test. And there you go. You're ready to record. Now, one thing I will tell you is when you're done for the day, I take a cloth with me and I make sure that I dry it off really well. You want to make sure too that the water can get caught underneath here. So as you're taking this off, keep that cloth handy and keep drying this section. And then when you get it out, actually dry both the inside here and the outside there. If you're around sand as well, you want to make sure that no sand got inside of it. Pull the Osmo Pocket out, close it up and dry it again. That way you can be sure that you're not going to have water inside there the next time you use it. And that's pretty much it. It's just that simple. The only thing I'll say at the end of this is make sure that you take it out of underwater mode. I forget to do that occasionally. And then when I record, when it's in underwater mode and it's not underwater, I get all kinds of funky issues with my focusing. So just remember that's the last step, is to take it out of underwater mode and you'll be all set to go. Okay, now I'm going to show you what it looks like underwater. I've taken it out to the pool and I've got it on a selfie stick. And I'm going to drop it underwater. Now, I want you to watch close. I've got my good friend Alfred E. Newman down there. I'm a big fan of Mad Magazine, and I've got this goofy Mad Magazine guy. I've got him underwater just to give you a little perspective. Now, don't hold it against me that the pool's a little bit dirty. I did this at the end of the season. We were going to close it the next day, so there are some leaves down in the deep end that I haven't got a chance to clean up. But I just want you to see the clarity of what that looks like underwater. And you can see that that lens has very little effect, if any, on the filming underwater. It just gives you a beautiful view of what's going on underneath the water in the pool. I hope that was helpful in showing you how to use this waterproof case with your Osmo Pocket. Now, I realize this accessory may not be right for everybody, and that's why I was so conflicted about doing the review, but if you're a diver, or you're a snorkeler, or you just want to get some video of your kids in the pool, I think this accessory is a good addition to your kit, and I really think it's a good value at $55 too. I know that's expensive, but when you think about it, what they're building here is a tiny little submarine. What they're trying to do is to protect your Osmo Pocket from getting wet down to 60 meters, and there's a ton of pressure down there. So I think they've done a great job. It's really heavy duty, it's built well, they've got glass on the front, they've got an incredibly good seal on the inside, which is super critical to keep the water out. So overall, I think they've done a wonderful job with it. Now, if you're not one of those people that are going to be swimming with the sharks, you're probably wondering, why would I buy it? And I kind of mentioned before that I think even if you're not going to be swimming with it, if you take it out a lot, if you're out in wet conditions or you're at the beach where it's sandy or out in a field where it's dusty, you can slide it inside this case and know that the Osmo Pocket's going to be perfectly protected. It's something that will give you the peace of mind that you've really got an action camera in your hands, even though you've got that delicate Osmo Pocket on the inside. So I really do think it applies to everybody. Kind of up to you if you think the $55 is worth it for that extra protection. For me, it absolutely is, because as I mentioned, I spend a lot of time outside filming, and to have a case like this that I can take out, power it up, clamp it on a branch, and start recording just makes things so much easier for me. So that's pretty much all I had for today. I've got links below if you want to check this out on the DJI website. I've actually got a link down there too for this clip, because a lot of people are asking me about it. It's a pretty cool accessory. So that's it for today. Thanks an awful lot for watching. If you have any questions about what I've covered, drop those in the comments below. I have a ton more clips coming, as I say every time. We're constantly working on new stuff, and I got a lot of high-tech stuff we're going to be reviewing. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit that sub button down there and join the Drone Valley family. We'd love to have you here and watching the clips, and we have a lot of fun putting these together, and I have a lot of cool stuff planned. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy flying.